Well, the Israeli military struck Hezbollah's intelligence headquarters in the heart of Beirut today as a part of a series of airstrikes in Lebanon targeting Hezbollah fighters. Now, this came after the IDF issued evacuation warnings for additional towns and villages in southern Lebanon, where its troops are fighting terrorists. Meanwhile, many UN member countries continue to call for appeasement as they seek to restrict Israel from defending its very existence. Joining me now to discuss this and more is former Congresswoman Michele Bachmann. She served on the House Intelligence Committee during her time in Congress. She is now the Dean of the Robertson School of Government at Regent University, and she is the chair of FRC's Board of Directors, as well as the co-chair of the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast. Michele, welcome back to the program.
Thank you so much. Great to be with you.
We are witnessing history in the making with this conflict that is taking place in the Middle East. And this is the longest military confrontation Israel has had since its founding in 1948. But the attack by Iran just days ago was historic.
It was historic, and I think the mainstream media hasn't told the public how historic this is. In the whole 5,000-year history of mankind, this is the largest ballistic missile attack ever in history. And it was Iran, almost 200 ballistic missiles. These are the huge, large, very powerful, destructive missiles. Fast-moving that Iran sent to Israel. Iran is very far away from Israel, and these missiles take about 12 minutes to hit their target. So they had an unprecedented attack against Israel. But what's even more unprecedented was the miraculous nature of the destruction that was intended against Israel. And this was a destruction that could have literally brought Israel to its knees, but for an intervening hand of a miraculous God who saved Israel, the God who neither slumbers nor sleeps. There's no question, if you talk to experts in Israel, they will tell you this is biblical, this is a miracle. Every channel in Israel, the anchors were saying, these are biblical times that we're living in. They were incredulous. People who are secular are saying for the first time they believe God, because not only did not one missile hit and kill one Israeli, not one of those missiles in a very small country where there's not a lot of extra room. They didn't hit any military infrastructure. They didn't hit any buildings that were strategic. The missiles that did come down, an incredible number were intercepted. But of those that came down, they hit sand, they hit water, they hit open spaces, of which there are very few. It's statistically impossible what happened, but for a miracle from God. Just the missiles were miraculous. But Tony, the other thing that was miraculous that, again, the mainstream media hasn't told people, this upcoming Monday is the 1-year anniversary of October 7th, the worst Holocaust in Israel since the Holocaust. But also the Israelis discovered that Hezbollah, the world's largest terrorist organization, was seeking to carry out another October 7th in northern Israel and in the Galilee region. And Israel was able to uncover the actual plans of that attack, as well as the latest weapons, a huge mother lode of weapons that were going to be used in this attack. It's a miracle. Just like God protected Israel from the ballistic missiles that came in, he protected them, Tony, from a second October 7th. So when you think of it, the terrorists were intending from Lebanon to come into Israel. Instead, what happened? The Israeli Defense Forces went from Israel into Lebanon and saved the Jewish people. It was a miracle from God.
Speaking of going into Lebanon, confronting Hezbollah and taking out their launching sites, taking out their leadership, that's going to be a critical step if they're going to do a direct confrontation with Iran, which we believe is coming. They have said as much.
Yes.
So this is an important intermediate step.
Well, it had to be done. And the Israeli leadership has known that they have to take out the Hezbollah leadership and remove the missiles. Over 50% of the missiles aimed at Israel, there were 200,000, over 50% are already gone. So Lebanon is the forward operating base for Iran. And so now Israel is doing exactly what they should do. And it is miraculous.
That could overwhelm their missile defense system.
Oh, easily.
So by taking them out allows them to focus on anything else.
It's mandatory. But when you consider what's happened, both in Gaza and in Lebanon, it is miraculous that this level of progress has happened in about a 15-day period.
It is pretty amazing. Does it not also show potentially the weakness of Iran? I mean, think back with Russia. Everybody thought Russia was this, 600-pound gorilla, and we're seeing they're unable to defeat Ukraine.
Well, that's right. And today, Iran actually released photos of their underground missile tunnels, and they did that, I think, because they wanted to bolster their image as being the tough guy, and that's because they're a weak man, not a strong man.
And I think that is what the world saw. I mean, launching nearly 200 ballistic missiles and not even being able to claim one casualty.
That's right. Not one casualty and not one direct hit on a significant structure. So again, what this says, this is twice now in 1 year. This has never happened before in history, that Iran has attacked Israel directly. Both direct attacks should have devastated Israel. Neither did. This shows the miraculous hand of God.
We're going to be talking about this more tonight at the Pray Vote Stand Summit. And folks, you can be a part of it if you're not here. The Real Life Network app. Very quickly, 30 seconds, Michelle, what Christians need to be watching for in the days ahead?
Well, there will be an attack in all likelihood by Israel against Iran. And so that's why we need to be watching and praying and ask for God to send his protection as he has before to go forward. This is now about dismantling the world's largest terror structure. And that's what we need to pray into.
And as we pray into that, also pray that the world will now know that there is a God.
That's right.
Because his hand is upon Israel, and it is evident.
And we've seen it all this week. The world isn't telling people, but we're going to tell them now and tonight.
Yeah. Michele Bachmann, always great to see you.
Thank you, Tony.